All right, if you've ever used Power BI, you know this feeling. You need a new calculation, and you're staring at a choice that can seriously make or break your entire report. It's the classic showdown, calculated columns versus measures. Today, we're going to settle this debate for you, for good. This is the big question, isn't it? You need to whip up a new calculation, you open Power BI, and bam, you're hit with this choice. Do you add a whole new column to your table, or do you write a measure? It's such a common roadblock for so many of us. And here's why it's so important to get this right. Picking the wrong one can seriously bloat your file size, slow your report down to a crawl, and heck, it can even give you the wrong numbers. But don't you worry. By the end of this, you'll have a crystal clear way to make the right call every single time. Okay, first up in the ring, let's meet our first contender, the calculated column. I always think of this one as the heavy lifter. Why? Because it does all of its work up front, before you even start your analysis. So here's the crucial thing to wrap your head around. A calculated column physically adds a brand new column to your data table. The calculation runs one time for every single row when your data refreshes, and then that result is saved. It's stored right there in the model. It's totally static. Just think of it like a formula in a spreadsheet. It goes row by row by row, calculating a value for each one. And because these values are pre-calculated and stored, they take up actual physical space in your file. And this is a big deal. Adding just one column to a million-row table can make your file size balloon. This is why they're perfect for creating new, fixed attributes for your data, like, say, putting each product into a specific price category. And now for our second contender, the DAX measure. If the column is our heavy lifter, then the measure is the agile analyst. It's fast, it's flexible, and it responds to your every move. This is a completely different beast. A measure is a formula written in DAX, Power BI's calculation language. It doesn't store any values in your model at all. Instead, it's just a formula that's waiting, and it only calculates a result when you actually use it in a visual. It's completely dynamic, calculating on the fly based on whatever filters or slicers you've clicked on. So measures are calculated at query time. In other words, only when you ask for them in a chart or a table. They work on aggregations like sums, averages, and counts, not on individual rows. And because they're just formulas, they take up practically no storage space, which makes them the absolute perfect tool for your key performance indicators, or your KPIs. Okay, so we've met the contenders, we know what they're good at. Now it's time for the main event, the side-by-side showdown. Let's put them head-to-head and make the differences impossible to ignore. This table lays it all out nice and simple. Let's just look at the key differences. Calculation. Columns are done once during a refresh. Measures. They're calculated on the fly every time you click. Storage. Columns increase your file size. Measures have basically zero impact. And now for the most important one, context. Columns only know about the single row they live in. They're clueless about your filters. But measures, they are aware of everything, all your filters and the entire context of your report. So we've seen all the theory, but let's get practical. How do you actually choose the right tool when you're in the middle of building a report? Well, I'm going to give you a super simple framework that makes this decision a piece of cake. Here it is. This is the golden rule. Just ask yourself one simple question. Do I need to see the result on each individual row of my data table? If the answer is yes, you probably need a calculated column. If the answer is no, I need a single summarized value, like a total or an average that reacts to my filters, then you absolutely 100% need a DAX measure. It really is that simple. Let's look at a classic example for a column. Say you want to calculate the total sales for every single line item in your sales table. Well, that formula, sales price times quantity, it has to be calculated for every single row. It's a static, row-level attribute. That's a textbook case for a calculated column. Okay, now for a measure. Let's say you want to see the average sales. This is an aggregation, right? You don't need an average value for every single row. That wouldn't even make sense. You need one number that represents the average for whatever products or categories are visible in your report right now. That average function is a dead giveaway. This is a job for a measure. We have covered a lot of ground, from definitions to real-world examples. So let's boil it all down to the single most important idea you need to walk away with. So if you remember just one thing from all this, make it this right here. Columns give you static, row-based calculations that are stored in your model. Measures give you dynamic, contextual calculations that happen on the fly. If you can burn that distinction into your brain, you've pretty much mastered the core concept. So I'll leave you with this question. Think about the last Power BI report you built. Are there any of those heavy calculated columns that could be swapped out for a lean, fast measure? Or maybe you're using a really complex measure where a simple pre-calculated column would be way more efficient. Go take a look. You might be really surprised at the performance boost you can get. Thanks for watching.